guys, so we're going to jump back in and now we're going to start tackling story animations. So if we recap for just a second, we've done text animations, we've done our overlay animations, we've done our transitional animations, and now we're going to do the big ones. We're going to do the story animations. So these are the animations that essentially are going to be bespoke every single time. You might reuse assets in places, but for the most part it's a specific animation that's visually showcasing a specific thing that John is saying, or what the voiceover or the point that is trying to be made. So for instance, we'll go have a look at one of our previous videos.
Because Massa realised there were three approaches to coming up with ideas. The first was to search the solutions to problems he had in his life. For example, when his round pencil kept rolling off the table, he considered a square or hexagonal pencil instead. The second approach was looking at things from the opposite perspective, like taking something big and making it smaller, or taking something red and making it white. For example, he came up with a traffic light with different shapes, so colourblind people could tell which phase the light was on. And his final tactic for ideas was combining existing things, like merging a radio with a tape recorder to get a radio cassette player. By the end of the year, Massa had a book with 250 different invention ideas.
So that's essentially what we're looking to create. We're looking to create something that illustrates that specific point and that specific part of the video. So we'll start with the intro animation, and here is what it looks like. So you'll recognize a few of the assets that are already used in this, and like I say, we can reuse some stuff that we've done in previous compositions, but it is a completely bespoke animation and it's unlikely it'll be used anywhere else besides here. So we'll dive straight in. Cool, so we got ourselves a blank composition. And the way I usually like to tackle these animations, I usually like to think about it from the back forward. So I'll start with, say, your background, I'll start with, you know, your textures, stuff like that, and I'll kind of work forward. I'm gonna start by dragging in the color palette. That's always a great start. So I know my background is gonna be dark, but I don't really like the black. I'll press Command Y to make a new solid, get the pick whipper, whip to that color, and then there we go, we've got ourselves a background. I'm probably going to add a little bit of texture to the background because at the minute it's just a little bit boring. It needs to feel like it's moving, it needs to feel like it's a little bit alive. So I've got a way that I generally tend to do this. There's two ways and I'll show you both. Press Command Y and we'll press Enter, doesn't matter what color you get. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some animated kind of glitchy fog just in the background to give it a little bit of texture. So we've got, get yourself a new solid and then we're going to go fractal noise, drag that on our solid. So we got ourselves some clouds there, but I'm going to do a few adjustments here in the effect just to make it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to just down the brightness a little bit on this fractal noise, just a little bit. And I think I'm going to go down to the transform elements of the effect. I'm probably going to scale it up a little bit because I don't really want the clouds to be too fine. And this really is just a matter of playing around, seeing what's going to kind of work. But what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the evolution of this effect. We're going to alt click and we're going to go time times 100 and see what that looks like. It's a bit slow for my liking, so I might just times it by 1,000. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. I might just double it, 2,000. Perfect. It's still a little bit smooth for me. I don't like how I can see the evolutions happening. It feels a bit pedestrian, so I think it needs a little bit, it needs the time posterized, which we can do. We'll get posterized time effect, put this down to 12, and then let's see what we're looking at. That's looking pretty good. That's looking pretty good. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just go down to the blending mode of this, and we'll probably just go lighten. And that's looks interesting. I might do is just to mix it up a little bit. I might invert it, so I'll make all the white bits black instead, and then we'll darken. Mess around with the brightness a bit more. There we go. And then maybe down the complexity more still. Mess around with the blender modes. Oh, that's quite nice. And then I might just bring the opacity down to like 3%, 4%. There we go, we're doing something now, cooking with fire. I don't think I like the screen effect, so let's actually go for... Let's go for darken. There we go. That's nice. So it's a subtle little texture, but it just brings the background alive a little bit more. And I think, let's go back down to our evolution of the effect, because I think it's maybe a little bit too fast. Go to fractal noise, go back to evolution, and maybe just put it down, back down to maybe like 800. See what that looks like. There we go. So that is about where I'd want it to be now. What I'll do now is I'll also add a vignette. Yeah, like that. Beautiful. That's a nice background. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-compose this. It's nice to keep your layers just kind of organized. So a pre-comp here and there is a good move, especially since we can probably use this background layer, you know, in loads of different story animations as we go. And you know what I might do? I might add a little bit extra texture in there. So I've went into my overlays and I've now got a scratch layer. And like I say, these animations really are just about details. So like the more little kind of details you can add, the better it's going to look in the end. So let's 90 degree that. Beautiful. And I'll probably just go screen. There we go. That's looking all right. So this is fine, but there's a better way to prepare your backgrounds. You're going to want a little bit of cropping space on your backgrounds because there's going to be some zoom in, some zoom out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Command K. I'm going to go to my composition. I'm just going to double everything, I think. I'm going to go, let's lock our aspect ratio. And let's maybe make this, I don't know, 2500. So we just have to scale these elements back up because they're After Effects compositions and shapes. It won't make a difference to the resolution by scaling up. That being said, the scratch layer, there will be an issue. So I'm going to type in CC tile. I'm going to go CC reptile. I didn't make the names up. That's Premiere all around, I swear to God. So we're going to scale up a bit. 80% should be fine because it's obviously 100% is your maximum resolution before it starts getting all pixely. And I'm going to just expand right. We're going to expand down. There we go. So basically this effect is essentially just putting lots of the same image next to each other. So as if it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle. So it's essentially expanding the image by duplicating it rather than cropping in on the image. I'm going to just do one more thing that I'd like to do. It's just add a little bit of grain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go same again, fractal noise. I'm just going to change the settings essentially. So instead of zooming in, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to up the contrast, down the brightness. And now we've got this little kind of specular quality to the solid. Yeah, that's looking nice. Down the brightness a little bit more, and same with the evolution. Let's do time times 1000. Perfect. Add our posterized time again. Same situation as before. Put that to 12. 50% opacity. And I'm also gonna just go screen. So now we got. There we go. That's looking nice. Now, let's look at doing the actual title. So we know our font because we've used it before. So we can just Massa Son. And that font is Engebrechter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pre-compose this title. Pre-compose, and I'm going to call it Massa Son title. Go into the composition, make it a little bit bigger, maybe, I don't know, 150. Great, so I'm just going to mess around the position of stuff. So the story of, because that's the title of the video, I'm going to use my backup font, my secondary font. Let's make it nice and small, because I want to kind of fit it in here. Might be a little bit light now, so let's do medium. There we go, that's quite nice. I think I'll make Massa Son a little bit bigger. I'll just get it to take up the composition. We can resize it in the next comp if we want to. I kind of want this story of to take up the whole space. So I might just spread that out a bit. I'll work on the, what's it, the lead in? The track in. There we go. The story of Massa Son. There we go, that's looking pretty good. We're gonna do some lines underneath it as well, some orange lines. So I'm just gonna draw a line underneath Massa Son. I'm gonna go to contents, I'm gonna go to shape, I'm gonna go to fill, delete that. I'm gonna go to stroke. I'm gonna capture the kind of dark orange color. Beautiful, like that, like that. And then I'm gonna add a trim path. I'm gonna animate the start and the end. So I want it to come out from the center, so I need the start to be at 50% and the end to be at 50% to begin with. And then I'll probably put the start down to 0, end up to 100. Same drill as before. Yeah, beautiful, that's really nice. Really like that. I'm gonna do the same again. I'm gonna grab this shape layer, duplicate that shape layer, and I'm just gonna bring it down a few. Instead of actually manually adjusting the path, all I'm gonna do here is adjust what the endpoint is. Unless instead of doing 0 and 100, let's do 10 and 90. Beautiful, love that. And we'll probably do one more. And the same drill as before. I think I'm just gonna mess around with the graph editor. If I highlight them all, I can edit them all in kind of one go. Oh. Then drag that out in. Now these should all be nice and there we go, that's nice, I like that. So we've got the story of Massa Son and we've got this underlining which is very in keeping with our design style. I think what we'll do now is add a bit of a glow to the underline like we've done in all many videos in the past. To save time, I'm literally just going to go ahead and take the effect from previous layers. So let's find our corner piece, and actually let's grab that anyway just because that's going to be useful for the final piece. So title layer, there we go. Nice. Let's grab the corner piece effect, get the glow, love that, perfect. Let's go to Massa Son title, let's get our shape layer. We'll need to mess around with the intensity because that's a bit intense for me, a bit red. So I think what we need to do is we need to go to our effects, we need to go to our glow, and we're going to need to just change threshold. I'll probably just drag that down. There we go. Yeah, it was just a matter of kind of tuning in the glow threshold a bit. So that's looking good to me. And I might even actually add a little bit of a glow to, there we go, Massa Son, that's looking nice. I think what I'm going to do as well is instead of having the story of there, I might put it here and have it in kind of like an Art Deco box. We'll rename this and call this Art Deco Shapes. I think we'll do this, we'll add another shape layer here. Add a group actually. And in that group we'll add a rectangle. Can move that rectangle up into position a bit there. And we're gonna mess around with the shape and size of that rectangle. So I think let's start simple. Let's just have a nice rectangle there. Let's add a stroke. Which I just copy and pasted from the other layers. Let's bring it in a little bit because it's a little bit thick as far as strokes go. Let's go to 10. Yeah, nice. I'm liking where this is going. I think what I'll do is add another rectangle. Just kind of move it around a little bit, see what's kind of working. That's quite nice. Maybe just shuffle this in strange ways, left and right. That's quite cool. Yeah, it's quite nice. I think I'll have to down the stroke size again. Maybe 7. That's looking pretty nice. Let's just add a few extra lines because those would be nice. So add a path. Just get to come out there. You here. Beautiful. We'll duplicate that path. And we'll just move it to the other side. Might nudge this rectangle just over a little bit, so it's not so. In the way of the text. Same drill as before. Add a little trim paths. I'm going to bring the story of just above. We'll probably get that to animate in. The way I'm going to do that is I'm basically going to get the story of to just kind of be revealed from behind the box. So what we'll do is we'll get for it to come in from below. Position, that's the endpoint, move it out. Get the Y value, bring it down. F9. And that's what it'll look like, but we need to create an alpha just so it gets revealed. So what I'll do is I'll just put an alpha, I'll put a solid just in this space that I want to see it, and we'll do the standard alpha matte. So black, alpha matte black solid, and then story of, fantastic. Oh, go ahead and add some motion blur to everything. I think what I'll do as well, so I'll get, I think, the Massa Son words to be revealed from behind the lines. Fantastic. So we're going to go into our shape layer. This is a slightly different way to do this, but as I say, it's always good to try and keep all of your effects on as little layers as possible, just so everything's kind of neat and so it's not confusing, and it's all kind of bunched together. And you have the luxury of being able to customize text layers quite well in After Effects. So we're going to go to the text layer, we're going to go text, we're going to go animate position. I'm going to drag the position down, and I'm going to drop down in the range. And now, as you can see, if I do this, if I scrub along the start and end, just in the same way that you do with a trim path, it kind of comes up and down. So I'm going to drag this all the way to 100 on the end, and I'm going to bring the start, animate the start so it animates in. So we'll start there, 0%, animate to 100. There we go, that's going to look good. It's going to look good. F9, and same situation as the other text. I'm going to add an alpha. There we go. And then get the Massa Son, go to our track matte, we'll go black solid 9. Oh, black solid 9. Let's actually rename these. Massa Son Alpha, because if we need to change this, or someone else works in our composition, they need to know what they're working with. And then we'll go the story of Alpha. And you probably don't need to see this anymore, so let's shy those layers. Nice, that's almost really good. I just don't like the animation on Massa Son. I think it works, but it's just a bit, the animation speed is just a bit strange. So I'm going to go to the graph editor and do what we usually do. Add a little bit of a flourish at the end. So let's go to Massa Son title. Still mess around with it a bit more, I think. I might drag out this keyframe, so this takes a little bit longer to come in, but I think that's all right. And we'll get it to go right from the start as well, I reckon. And to finish this all off, I'm going to put a posterize time adjustment layer, because you know me, I like to put posterize time everywhere. So 12. So let's go into our original composition, and let's see what we're looking at the minute. Yeah, I mean, that's looking pretty good to me. That's a very good start. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at adding some background information like we've done in the past with making kind of like wallpaper style wallpaper style backgrounds. I'm going to do something similar here. So if we look here, I've got this like frame and I think that looks quite nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create that now. So let's go ahead and make a new shape layer. I'm going to pre-compose that. Art Deco wallpaper is fine. And then let's go into that composition. So let's have a little look. Exactly the same as before, we just need to make a shape that is within the Art Deco design style and will look good once we've added repeaters to it and kind of like blown it up. So let's go to this layer. We're going to add a rectangle. Beautiful, love that. We'll make this one just white, I think, in color. So we'll go stroke. White is fine. Let's maybe make this 4. I think maybe make the rectangle just a touch smaller. Let's do like 60. Beautiful, that works for me. That works for me indeed. So we're going to add a group. It's always good to keep things neat. Add a group. Drag you in there. Now we're going to add kind of maybe like some lines kind of coming out. So it's kind of like, because they do kind of like that spire kind of look in like a fan or something, a fan of lines. They do that a lot in Art Deco. So I'm going to add a group. I'm going to drag it above the shape, the square layer. And I'm just going to add a few paths. And I think that's the best way to do it. So if I add a path, pop it in the corner, get it over there. Perfect. Let's add another path. Pop it in the corner. Golly. And we're just duplicating these paths so we can kind of, there we go. That looks good to me. And then we just need to add a stroke. Nice, that's looking good. I think what I'll do now, I'm going to add this all to one group. I'm going to rotate the group. It's 45 degrees actually, because we want it to be like a diamond. Yeah, beautiful. Let's I think let's add a bit of extra stroke length to the square. And like I say, this is all just experimentation, seeing what kind of works. That's looking good. I think maybe we'll add somewhat more stroke. There we go, that's looking good now. That's looking good. Okay, and it's the same deal as before. We're going to add a repeater. So good, let's add 20. And then let's add a repeater to get those horizontal, to get the horizontal element of the pattern. We'll make it nice and snug. Snug, is that the way forward? I think, no, a little bit of spacing. A little bit of spacing is quite nice. Yeah, that's looking good. And then we'll up this to 15, see what it looks like. And the same situation as before, we just need to drag this down a bit, make this 19, and then we just need to add a few extra vertical repetitions. There we go. That is looking good to me. So we're going to go back to our main composition. As you'll see, it looks a bit mental. But what we need to do is we just need to mess around with the blending modes like usual. And right away, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm going to down the opacity because I just want a bit of texture. I don't think I want it to be overwhelming. Yeah, it looks good to me. So I'm going to bring the title a little bit higher now. Yeah, lovely, that's looking good, I like that. So let's get rid of that palette. Now I know I'm going to want to see Masa Son. It doesn't make sense not to have him in the shot. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a picture of him and we're just going to add some effects to it to make it blend with the rest of the design. So let's find a photo of him. So that now we've selected our image, I was going to take it straight into After Effects, but that would have been a mistake. There's a lot quicker way to manipulate that photo, and that is obviously in Photoshop. I know what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to cut out Masa Son from the image so he's separate from the background, so I can manipulate him and only have that in the actual animation. So best way to do that is to separate him in Photoshop. So what we're going to do is open Photoshop, drag the image into Photoshop, and then this is so simple nowadays. Photoshop really has come so far from the early days of it. So we're going to go select, subject. We're going to press add masks, and just like that, he's cut out. That used to be so hard back in the day. I can't believe how easy it is nowadays. We're going to save this. We'll probably put this, not as a web, let's do it as a Photoshop document. Masa cut out. Beautiful. Going to find that cut out, drag it into After Effects, because you can bring Photoshop files into After Effects, and it understands what they are. We'll go merge layers into layer styles into footage. And there we go, Masa Son is on our screens. So there's a few things I'm probably going to change. I'm probably going to get rid of this because it has made a mistake here. I'll go into the composition that's made, put a mask around it. And that's only going to show the thing we don't want, but if we invert it, boom. Or what's better actually, if we instead of invert it, we just go subtract. So that just takes away the part we don't like. So where do we want him? Something like that looks quite cool. And I think maybe we'll have a reflection of him as well, because I think a reflection would be quite nice. Quite dramatic. But first, let's make him into something a bit more Art Deco-y. We're going to go to Posterize. And this is essentially, as I've said in the past, this is making the color range a little bit narrower. So instead of seeing an even gradient from his skin, his light skin tones to say his dark skin tones, we've got more blocky kind of look. So that looks quite nice to me. I'm going to go hue, saturation, bring it down the saturation. That's looking good now. And to finish this off, we're going to add some color to it. We'll probably go tint, bring the color palette back in. I'm going to go to the tint. I'm going to assign white that orange, that yellow, and I'm going to assign to black, probably our black. Get rid of the palette, and now let's go to our final composition. And just like before, we're going to add a glow to Masa Son as well. So if I go to our title, I go to corner piece, I go to glow, copy that, paste that on Masa cutout. It's a little bit intense at the minute, so I'm just going to adjust some of the specification, maybe down the radius just a touch, and down the threshold. Up the threshold, there we go. Be good, I think, to bring Masa behind almost everything, because I don't want to see him. That's looking cool. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, beautiful. And I'm going to duplicate him. I'm going to flip him around. So I'm going to press S for scale. I'm going to go to the X-axis and I'm going to just flip that straight around. Beautiful. And then we got to ask ourselves, how do we want Masa Son to reveal himself? And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do our classic ink alpha reveal. So if I go to Masa Son, drag the ink alpha into our composition, just kind of line it up where we want it. And put up the scale just a touch because I need it to cover the entire Masa Son image. And then we'll just go to the Masa Son cutout, track matte, ink alpha, track matte, ink alpha, and then make it a luma. And then nice, we have a beautiful animate in for our Masa Son images. Fantastic. Now I think all we need to do really is add a bit of movement to the scene because it's all a little bit static at the minute. We'll add a let's go with a camera because I want a bit of parallax. So let's make everything 3D. And the thing is with 3D layers, it's essentially just setting up a real life scene. So where is everything? So if our master son layer is at the front, and then our text layer is just behind it, and then our background's all the way at the back, that's essentially what's going to happen. So if we have a virtual camera and push it in, you're going to see real life parallax like you would in an actual video camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my two views. I'm going to see one view from the left. So let's get my master son title. I'm going to bring that forward. I'm going to keep my vignette in a 2D object because I don't really want that to be affected by the camera movement. So we've got our title at the front. I think what we can do is we can bring our corner pieces to a similar position. So that's -988 in the x-axis. Great. I think we'll parent the ink effect to master son, and then parent that master son to there, just so they're all in one layer. We don't want them kind of moving out of track. Just move that forward a little bit, I think. And then yeah, I think that might be all we need. You only need a little bit of depth to kind of add a little bit, to add parallax. So great, so let's go back to one view and let's just scale everything back to how they should be, I think. So bring master son back over here, move him over a little bit. And let's get our text layer, get him back there. Align. You want to be careful with alignment on 3D layers because it doesn't actually let you use alignment tools in 3D mode. So just a little FYI. So as you'll see, not a lot has really changed. It looks the same, but what we can do is we can add some camera movement, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start it there. I'm going to move in to about there and just see what that looks like. And I think what we'll also do is we'll add a little bit of wobble to everything. Null object, parent everything to the null object. We'll call this wiggle. And this essentially just gives our camera a little bit of extra grittiness. We're going to alt click on position. We're going to go wiggle. And we'll do, I don't know, 3 times a second, 20 pixels. And just see what that looks like. It's a little bit much, so let's maybe do 1.5 times a second. That's half the frequency. Beautiful, and I think I'm going to make the corner pieces just a little bit smaller. I'll bring master son. The text a little bit lower. And make it a little bit smaller as well. I don't think it needs to be that big. Let's actually make the corner pieces much further forward in the scene as well, actually, I think. As you can see, now that the corner pieces are a lot further in front, there's a lot more kind of like wobbling of them, and it feels like we pass through them. So the scene just feels a little bit more 3D. And I think I might even add to them. I might even add some bars. Let's solo them so we can see what we're doing. So I'm just going to go to the shape layers and I'm going to just extend the paths a little bit. So all kind of overlaps. So this is all connected now. That's looking good to me. Just connect all those points. And we've got ourselves a nice little frame. Yeah, that's looking nice, that. That is looking nice. And I might just add an extra path in a few places, just to add to it really. Just a double up of the line. Just do that. Looks good to me. And the same on this side. Duplicate that path. Grab the points. Just bring it over here. Yeah, looks good to me. Beautiful. So now let's unsolo that layer. So I've added my bars, and now I just, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Massa Son, the image, just a little bit further forward, because I want him to be kind of the front and center and like experiencing the most parallax, I think. So let's put him to there, and let's bring the corner pieces back a little bit, because I don't think they need to be quite that far forward. There we go, scale up a little bit. I'm essentially just messing around with putting these guys in different positions in the z-axis. So if we've got x along the bottom and y along the top, then z is along the back axis. So I'm bringing Massa Son, the image, from here to there, and I'm moving the bars a little bit further back. And obviously when they get closer to the virtual camera, they're going to look bigger. So I'm just scaling down to kind of keep them in a good position. So let's see what that looks like. Now I'm just arranging everything so it kind of, there we go, so nothing is in the wrong place. Let's see what we're looking at here. Beautiful, that's looking good to me. I might move the title up a little bit in space. There's a handful of other things that I'm going to do just to spice it up a little bit. Nice, easy little wins. I'm going to add like kind of a glitter burst in the background, because that would just be really cool. And you know, again, it's very in keeping with the Art Deco design. Here's one I prepared earlier. Nice. So it's just a slow-mo shot of some glitter just kind of flying. So I only really want to use it once the glitter's in the air, I think, because I don't want to see it lift in. So I think something like that's probably a good place. Great, I'm going to drag that just above the background. I'm going to mess around with the blender mode, probably screen. And I'm just going to down the opacity as well, because I don't think it needs to be. There we go, that's looking very glitz and glam. And that will be our first story animation done. And that literally, you can just render that now and you can pop that straight into your composition. The key to these things is really just using the little techniques and the little skills that you gain from this, like, you know, your alpha match, your parenting, your design ideas, your trim paths, shape layers, just using these little tools and just kind of letting them compound. So when you do lots of little animations and lots of little details, it all kind of comes together and it looks like a seriously intricate piece. So in the next video, I'll show you one more and we'll do something slightly different for that one. So see you in the next one.